Thank you for joining us on today's episode of Tax Matters. I am Pearl Naimeka.
And I am Chiamaka Ohaochi.
It is generally accepted that the FIRS is the life wire of the Nigerian economy, as indeed tax authorities all over the world. Revenue from taxes from across the three tiers of government continues to largely provide the required funding for running government business, provision of amenities, protection of lives and property.
The FIRS takes its job very seriously, as you will hear presently from the #1 taxman in Nigeria, and we dare say in Africa.
We have told staff that this job that we're doing, we should do it not as an occupation, but for love of nation, because each additional naira or dollar that we collect goes to improve the standard of living or the economic development of this country. If we look at the history of tax administrators from the time of the Bible, we were never liked. And close to that, we looked at people who are corrupt. And clearly, we have tried to change that perspective. And the only way we can change it is, first of all, to be content with what we're being paid and make sure that we do not encourage any discussions between us and taxpayers in trying to amend or facilitate easy passage of their financials when it comes to assessments. And so that is the new vision of FIRS.
So you see, there is a paradigm shift. There's a new way of thinking, a new way of doing things at the FIRS.
What you just saw is an excerpt from a speech delivered by Mr. Babatunde Fowler, Executive Chairman FIRS, when he received a delegation from the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria, CITN, led by its new president, Dame Olajumoke Simplice. That speech was made in the course of the presentation of a book published by the FIRS in honor of President Muhammadu Buhari. A book which Mr. Fowler makes it a point to present to every visitor that comes calling at Revenue House, Abuja.
We adopted this book on our president, and some people might ask the question why. The virtues that we could pick from this book coincided with the new virtues of the new vision that our staff should imbibe. Number one, as a member of the armed forces, either male or female, anyone who joins usually is prepared to lay down his or her life for love of nation. Second of all, it shows him as a civilian. And we all joke about it, but we talk about how content he is on his rank, but that sends a lesson to all of us. The book is titled simply, Taxpayers Are King. So we have sent that message to all taxpayers that we're here to serve them. And as we serve them, we believe and hope that they'll share the same vision that we have as tax administrators.
Another matter that is dear to the heart of Mr. Fowler is that of the convenience of the taxpayer. How to make tax filing and payments a pleasant experience. This gave rise to the ICT initiatives of the FIRS, for which in fact the FIRS has coined its own acronym: Innovation, Convenience and Transparency, ICT.
Yes, ICT.
And so the second book that Mr. Fowler presents to his stream of visitors is the book on the FIRS ICT initiatives.
Also, we're quite aware that the world that we live in is very dynamic. And we know that we cannot be left behind. Nobody wants to pay taxes, as you're quite well aware. But we believe that if we make it convenient, transparent, and accountable, we'll have a whole lot more taxpayers coming into the tax net or a bit encouraged to pay their taxes. So we have deployed technology, and this book basically is titled FIRS Brings ICT to Your Doorsteps. This book highlights all the new incentives and technology that we have introduced into tax administration. From the point of registering your business with CAC, we're connected online with them. You can download your tax ID, make your stamp duty payment online immediately, and also download your receipts anywhere in the world. Also confirm those receipts anywhere in the world 24/7. There are other things that you can also do. You can request for your tax client certificate and you'll also get it sent to you online. You can pay your stamp duties also online, and if you want it to be amended to a physical document, you can also bring in that document at a later date and have it stamped. So that's just some of our new initiatives available to our taxpayers.
London, New York or Lagos, business or holiday, home or office, you can now carry out your tax transactions from anywhere in the world. You can now file all your tax returns, pay online, get a receipt and even process your tax clearance certificate from anywhere in the world online and in real time. All you need to do is log on to www.firs.gov.ng and click on e-services and be introduced to the world of innovation, convenience and transparency from the FIRS. You can also pay stamp duty as you register a new company with the CAC or for other transactions that require stamp duty payment online. You can also file your withholding tax returns and determine the withholding tax deducted from you is in government covers so that you can get your receipt within 45 days as long as the deduction has been remitted. Yes, all of this and more online at www.firs.gov.ng/e-services. FIRS, making tax administration as easy as ABC. Please note that all FIRS services are free of charge. This message is from the Federal Inland Revenue Service. It pays to pay your tax.
Public notice on the deduction at source of withholding tax and value-added tax on compensations paid to agents, dealers, distributors and retailers by principal companies. According to the Companies Income Tax Act Regulations Section 1, Subsection 10, 1997, and Paragraph 3.8 of FIRS Information Circular Number 2006-02 of February 2006, compensation and commission earned by distributors, dealers and agents are subject to withholding tax and value-added tax. The FIRS hereby puts all companies, particularly those in the fast-moving consumer goods sector, on notice that compensation due to their distributors and customers in the form of commission, rebates, and by whatever means of payment, whether by cash, credit notes, or even goods in trade, must be subjected to withholding tax and value-added tax at the appropriate rates as applicable, and remit same to the FIRS accordingly on or before the 21st of every month. The service will commence monitoring of compliance by the relevant companies and will be counting on the cooperation of all stakeholders in this regard. Signed, Tunde Fowler, Executive Chairman, Federal Inland Revenue Service.
Thank you for staying with us. The CITN delegation was just one of the numerous groups that have come calling at Revenue House in recent time. Revenue House has continued to be a mecca, a choice destination for everyone and every organization desirous of good company. On Tuesday, the 25th of June 2019, the management and staff of the NTA paid a courtesy visit to Revenue House, Abuja. On hand to receive the NTA delegation, which was led by its Director General, Yakubu Mohammed, was the Executive Chairman, FIRS. In welcoming his guests, Mr. Fowler placed on record the appreciation of the efforts being made by the NTA in publicizing the importance of tax payment to the public.
You're most welcome once again, and we thank you for taking time out to pay this courtesy call. We have been partners in business, I'll say in business for quite a while, because one of the functions of taxation, apart from encouraging people to pay tax, is getting out messages, and NTA has played a very important role in getting out our messages to the public. We thank you for that. We've tried as much as possible to ensure that we send the message of taxation across the nation through various modes of communication, especially through NTA, that has a very wide coverage. We're also on the radio. We also attend concerts and other activities where people who operate in the informal sector are present. But we'd just like to let you know that we appreciate the message that you help us carry out, and we look forward to continue to work together. We're also quite aware that the Nigerian tax base has grown over the period. We do believe that before the end of this year, we should be able to grow that to close to 45 million. And of course, we'll certainly need to use the NTA to carry that message.
In his response, the Director General NTA pledged the continuous support of the authority in publicizing the importance of taxation to Nigerians.
The Nigerian Television Authority is willing, according to our mandate, to work with establishments such as yours, in making sure that Nigeria moves to the next level. We do that by collaborating. The FIRS does it through taxation, NTA does it through publicity and other related matters. I'd like to assure you that we in NTA are willing to go all the way, to support you in your efforts, to make sure that taxation as an economic tool, brings out the best in Nigerians.
Mr. Fowler seized the opportunity to present some of the publications of the service, which include Taxpayers Are King, a book in honor of President Muhammadu Buhari; FIRS Brings ICT to Your Doorstep, a book on the ICT initiatives of the service, as well as a comic for young ones aimed at catching them young. The latest edition of the FIRS magazine, The Gauge, was also presented.
On Wednesday, the 17th of July 2019, TETFund, one of the major stakeholders in the business and activities of the FIRS and the custodian of the proceeds of education tax collected from corporate organizations, came calling at Revenue House. Again, Mr. Fowler was on hand to receive the TETFund delegation, which was led by Professor Suleiman Bogoro. As was done with the NTA delegation, Mr. Fowler presented gifts made up of the publications of the service. Mr. Fowler also seized the opportunity to present the collection performance of the FIRS in the area of education tax, which the service collects on behalf of TETFund.
Our collection trend for the last 2-3 years, which has been an upswing, and I think it ended at about 203 billion for 2018. As of the end of June, on July 9th, it has hit 99.21 billion.
In his remarks, the Executive Secretary TETFund, Professor Suleiman Bogoro, spoke glowingly about the cordial relationship existing between the FIRS and TETFund.
Let me say this very clearly that for TETFund, we have appreciated and insisted on forging and maintaining, sustaining a very close working relationship with the goose that lays the golden egg, as far as I'm concerned. Without FIRS doing its job, which you just explained moments ago, we cannot have the money. We will have a trust fund that does not have funds. You better imagine what that means. You are actually the lifeline by any definition of TETFund. And we've never lost sight of that importance of our relationship. And that's why over time we have maintained very mutually respectful relationship with this organization. You had come into office since 2015, and today it is a fact that FIRS collections are witnessed sustained linear growth. I think this is a big credit to your leadership.
On the 5.3 trillion naira collection by the FIRS in the year 2018,
it's unbelievable, and we knew that is possible with committed leadership. Mr. Chairman, you've demonstrated that. As we celebrate this, we are doing so because we know at TETFund, we are one of the main beneficiaries of the enhanced tax collection by FIRS. So we are definitely celebrating, and it's only right, those of us that are direct beneficiaries of what you are doing, we should express it and commend you.
In 2018, a total of 5.320 trillion naira was collected as taxes by the Federal Inland Revenue Service (FIRS). This is the highest ever collected as federal taxes in Nigeria. Taxes have become an important source of revenue, enabling the government to provide greater infrastructural developments in our country. Tax revenues enable government to provide more roads, more railways, more bridges, more housing, more schools, more students in schools, more hospitals, more security, and generate more power. Because Nigeria deserves more. Only your taxes can make all our dreams come true. This message is from the Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS. It pays to pay your tax.
Thank you for staying with us. We're still at Revenue House. On Wednesday, the 24th of July 2019, the newly installed President and Chairman in Council of the CITN, Dame Olajumoke Simplis, accompanied by council members, paid a courtesy visit to Revenue House, Abuja. Chief host was the Executive Chairman, FIRS, Mr. Babatunde Fowler, who led other top management staff of the service to receive the august guests. For Dame Olajumoke Simplis, the visit was a homecoming, having served meritoriously at the FIRS for many decades.
First of all, FIRS is not new to you. I'm sure it reminds you of coming home. And I'd like you to believe that this will always be your home also. Since we left FIRS, we have had some reforms. We, in fact, tried to send a new vision, not mandate, but a new vision to our staff. And in doing that, we adopted this book on our president. And some people might ask the question why. The virtues that we could pick from this book coincided with the new virtues of the new vision that our staff should imbibe. So we have sent that message to all taxpayers that we're here to serve them. And as we serve them, we believe and hope that they'll share the same vision that we have as tax administrators. So I'd like to present this book to you.
Mr. Fowler also spoke about the attitude of some big business outfits who are failing in their civic duties with regard to tax payments and efforts being made by the FIRS to ring them in.
After the initial tax amnesty in 2016, followed by evades, followed by various stakeholder engagements in 2018, we still found out that there was a high number of high net worth account owners that were still not within our tax net. We started off with accounts that had 1 billion naira turnover annually and above, and we took that down to 100 million to 1 billion annually and above. Unfortunately, between those two sectors, we have close to 40,000 of those accounts that are still not remitting taxes as when due, especially in the area of VAT and withholding tax. We have now started a lien on those accounts. The first 2,800 of those accounts in the last 2 months have paid about 72 billion, which is just 2% of that number. And we believe that by the time we have gone through the 40-odd thousand of those accounts, we should be able to generate at least $500 billion of unpaid taxes. And from now on, we believe that they will equally be within the tax net and will also monitor to make sure they don't drop out.
Dame Simplis responded by expressing the immense gratitude of the council and members of the CITN for the support of the FIRS.
I am very, very proud to be part of FIRS, and like I've always said, when I come back to this world, I want to start from FIRS. This visit is essentially to thank you. I am privileged to lead the Institute at this point in time, when the level of partnership between CITN and FIRS is on the ascendancy. Therefore, I believe that the level of support and partnership between our two organizations can only get better in the course of my tenure.
We are coasting home while staying with the visits to Revenue House, Abuja. The day after the visit of the CITN, the Nigerian Bar Association came calling at Revenue House. As was the case with others, Mr. Fowler began his reception of the high-powered delegation with the presentation of gifts. Mr. Fowler seized the occasion to talk about the newly launched J2B Taxpayers Identification Number Registration System under the Consolidated National Taxpayer Database Scheme.
On the 1st of July, under the Joint Tax Board, we did launch what we call the Consolidated Tax Database. So we have information residing in one database of all taxpayers, both individual and corporate. And that should certainly improve ease of doing business. Under the Constitution, every state has the taxing powers, meaning that you could have a tax ID in Lagos, a different one in Ogun, another one in Kano. And if you wanted to transact business in any other state and they ask for a tax clearance certificate in those days, before July 1st, that state chairman will confirm from his fellow chairman whether that tax clearance was genuine, whether the amounts were accurate. But now, as a touch of a button, wherever you go in this country, your tax compliance can be verified, and you don't have to waste any time in carrying out your tax duties. Your number that you had registered with in one state has been converted to what we call the Universal JTB TIN. Now, for some states that are not computerized, they also have access to this. So even without them being computerized, once you hit the internet, you can register your tax name and receive a number. We believe that this will not only improve the level of compliance, it will also improve the level of accountability on the system. All your tax payments are stored for you, so at any point in time, from the day you register, and we're hoping that states will upload the tax history for prior years, you can keep accurate records of all your tax payments from wherever you start.
An obviously impressed NBA president had this to say in his response.
We have listened to, so to speak, your report card on what has been happening in the Revenue House, and I must say it's very impressive. And we really did not expect anything less. I believe that Revenue House, or FIRS, has quite some complementarity with our profession. And I will talk very slightly about this and where we are coming from. I looked at the documents that shows the schedule of what we're going to do today. And I noticed the motto of the FIRS. It says it pays to pay your tax. And that is actually quite instructive, because what you're telling the tax-paying public is by having to pay your tax, then that tax works for you. That, in very simple terms, is what I understand that motto to mean. And in a similar way, the International Bar Association, of which we are a component, has a motto which is quite interesting as far as the rule of law is concerned. In the first place, the essential focus of the Bar Association, whether it is in Nigeria or outside Nigeria, is to promote the rule of law. And the IPA came up with this motto that says, if you take care of the rule of law will take care of you. That is quite similar to what you have here. It pays to pay your tax. And so we advocate very strongly that it pays for us to promote and maintain and protect the rule of law. The FIRS, in our reckoning, is one of the more important bodies as far as any governance is concerned, because government must spend money, it must have revenue, and in Nigeria in particular, where we have depended on a wasting asset, and that is the oil revenue, that would finish. There is a time frame, and that would finish. The only one that remains that is sustainable and sustaining is actually the tax revenue. And so it's very important that we take care of that tax revenue and we administer it very well.
Revenue House has no doubt been a beehive of activities in recent time.
I think it says a lot about the importance of the FIRS to the polity, more so with the giant strides being made by the service.
Success sure attracts attention. But more importantly, let's remind you viewers that for the FIRS, you are the king. The taxpayer is king, while not forgetting the importance of embracing ICT for tax filing and payment.
And for business owners, remember that there is no more hiding place for tax evaders. Pay your tax. Go out there, get the gateway beating, and be a part of the moving train to prosperity for all Nigerians. Tax Matters train will still be here next week. Join us for another ride. See you next week.